Hey, everybody. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to state facts. And then at the end, I'm going to give you my opinion and my prediction for the market today, because the market, no doubt, is confusing. You had futures which were green like 100 points because we had just had the worst day in an entire year for the S&P yesterday. So that generally happens. We get a bounce. So futures were green, then they went flat, then they went red, then they spiked green again. So if you're confused, that's probably why you're joining me. So I'm going to talk about a couple of different statements, and we'll go into the market. So number one, Bill Ackerman, right? Heavy investor. He thinks it's time for the U.S. to defend Ukraine, and World War III is already started, and we just don't know about it. So I don't necessarily agree with that stance, but it's floating out there among people. Gas prices are at their highest point in 17 years, right? We knew it's coming. That's what they told us. Oil's over what? 126 this morning. I watched it go from 124.79 to 126 in the span of about 5 minutes as I was watching it trade live. Understand what's happening. First off, the U.S. only imports 3% of our oil from Russia. So I don't know why it's such a crazy deal. Then we're talking to Venezuela potentially about oil. It's crazy how that's going. Gas is high. Okay, so Russia holds $132 billion worth of gold that we're looking to freeze Russia from being able to buy and sell gold. Understand, they've been stockpiling gold for the last 7 years, since 2015, right after they invaded and took over Crimea. So they've done this before. They've prepared themselves before. Next, hedge funds. Hedge funds on Wall Street. Listen to the shit they're doing. They're buying up Ukrainian bonds for about 7 cents on the dollar. They're buying up Russian bonds for about 4 cents on the dollar. They're buying up the ruble, right? After Russia attacked their ruble, which is their currency in Russia, has gone down, what, 80%? Something to that extent, 60%. It's over 50. I know that I was 80% in like 1-2 day span. But the point is, Wall Street, because all they give a shit about is money, making money over hand over fist. They're taking a chance. They're like, hey, we'll throw pennies at this. It's like your lotto calls or your lotto puts that you play on Friday. You're like, I'll take $300. For them, they're like, we'll take $30 million, because if they're correct, it'll turn into $500 million. So what else we got to do? Oh, President Biden is going to speak about banning Russian oil. That will happen at 10:45 this morning. So that adds to the confusion, because we know what the market likes to do when President Biden speaks, even though everybody already knows what exactly is going to go on. And then last and not least, and I'm going to bring up a stock that I'm going to talk about real quick, but COVID virus is spiking again in China and New Zealand. These are two countries that had like a zero tolerance policy that would go into complete lockdowns. Well, you haven't heard about that because the war is going on, but it's happening in a couple of different provinces in China, and in New Zealand, COVID cases are on the rise. So you have certain stocks that have been extremely beaten up, like Moderna. I had a position yesterday. I got lucky. It spiked back up. I got out. No harm, no foul. I did buy some stock on OCGN. So I've got the SPY chart here. Let me just bring up OCGN, and then we'll talk about what's going to happen in the SPY today. Oh, of course, it switches. OCGN. Oh, 232. Love it. It's down 7% pre-market. Let me add that to the screen. Boom. All right, here we go. And let me make it so you actually can see the chart. All right, let me move this down. All right, so you can see the one-day chart. Let's go to the 1 month chart, because I can show you what I'm seeing with this stock. 1 month chart doesn't want to pull up. Okay, here we go. As it's going down, and you can see it's going down, it was as high as $4, but basically it was in the $3.60 range. People were buying up to $4, expecting news. Then it's been little volume, almost no volume to sell it from $3.50 all the way down to $2.50, almost no volume. Inflow yesterday, 2 days ago, inflow yesterday, you know what's going to happen when they have another inflow day like this? It's going to spike above 350. So for me, it's not a long-term hold, but yes, it's a good time to take a position. I just got in this morning at $2.30. It's $2.32 right now. When will I get out? Okay, if it spikes today, I don't need 360. If I get out at 275, I just made 10% in one day. So the point is, I think you have limited downside. I'm showing you why. Demand, inflow, which is just basically sign of support. So the fact that it seems to be leveling out here, all it needs is one major inflow day, 60 million shares. I mean, other days were 20, 20, 29, 14, 15. You give me a day with 50 to 70 million shares, and I'm telling you, this is going to spike above $3. Above $3, I'm out. All right. So with that said, let's bring up the SPY and talk about what could potentially happen. Now, when I bring up the SPY chart, understand I'm going to have to bring up the 3-month chart. I think the 3-month chart will do it. Yeah, it'll do it. All right. So I'm bringing up the 3-month chart. Now, what you can see on the SPY is we bottomed here, right? Then we bottomed here when it was 410 that morning. They started buying it up. And we always have double bottoms. It's not like we just revisit, especially with war and everything else going on. It's not like we don't revisit a double bottom. So you're either seeing a double bottom. Now, the last time, look, what do we have? Volume at 132 million. Yesterday's volume, 137 million. When I tell you history repeats itself, don't be surprised if it does. Now, understand, I'm a contrarian. So let's just look at the last time, okay? The last time was what? 2 weeks ago, I guess. We had outflow for 4 straight days, and then we bottomed that morning at 410 on the SPY. So here we had outflow, inflow, outflow, inflow, outflow. So it tends to rotate. So first off, you guys know I like patterns. If I'm telling you, look, it's rotating. So what are you expecting from the SPY today? I'm expecting inflow. I'm a contrarian. But let's talk about the 2 possible outcomes for the SPY today and what could potentially happen. All right, so the SPY, if it breaks 420 on the way down, it could touch 414. So what was I talking about, Carlos? Let me tell you real quick. Let me get this off the screen real quick. I was saying that if the market decides it wants to sell off when Biden starts speaking at 10:45 because we're not accepting Russian oil anymore, you could see the SPY potentially go down 2% to 414. If it hits 414, I think we're going to have a hard bounce of 1%. Almost instantaneously. I mean, nothing happens instantaneously, but as quick as it goes down, I think it'll be the same speed to go up. So if you're planning on something like that, that's strategy number 1. When it's on the way down, you want to say, okay, when the SPY is at 414, here's what the options will cost me. I will enter into calls because again, if it hits that 414, I think it's going to bounce pretty quickly. So you might get someone to scare sell you some contracts. That's what I'm looking to do going into today. Now, going into yesterday, I said I'm looking for the ugliest time in the market, and I'll buy UVXY puts or SPY calls. I had a little bit of FOMO. I moved too soon. The worst part of the day was completely at the end of the day. So a smart trader or a smarter trader than me would have said, okay, let me just wait till 345, 350. Why? Because we're trying to make money in the market. We're not trying to just be active in the market. It's one thing to be an active trader. Oh, I just bought this. I just sold this. I did this. I used to trade over 200 trades a week a couple of weeks back. And then 2 weeks ago, I think I only had 12 trades in the week. And I was that more efficient and effective. So less is more. So on the SPY, let me bring that back up just so we can talk about the possible. Oops. Let's bring it up larger. See if we got even larger. There we go. Okay. It's all over the place. Look at this. Okay. So on the way down, I believe the SPY could bottom at 414, like 414, 50, 414, something like that. We haven't seen that level. We got to go back for a year. Boom. Okay. So we're right around, here we go, 414. Okay. So, I mean, you guys can see we've spent since June above this level. So now you ask yourself, all right, are things worse right now for the US, for the economy, for companies that you're investing in? And you say, then June of last year when we were still in the pandemic, June of last year when numbers were spiking, June of last year when we were like, hey, will society ever get back to normal? So I'm saying to you, yeah, I just don't see it. I get how we could sell off and go down to 414, but I don't buy it. I mean, I took some positions yesterday, some starter positions. Okay, let's talk about the upside. Let's say Matt, the contrarian, is correct today and the market spikes down and then quickly rebounds, or it doesn't even spike down to 414. it has a base of, let's say, 418 or 417 and quickly spikes up. What are we looking at? Okay, so we're looking at, they were buying here. I mean, you could see the buy, the inflow. They were buying here at 436. They were buying here at 428, 430. They were purchasing before it dropped yesterday. And understand, institutions, hedge funds, big money, they buy in the first 10 minutes of the day and the last 10 minutes of the day. The rest of the day, Wall Street, retail traders following the direction of the market, which makes sense why the market can sell. If these people that are taking buys at the beginning of the day, which happened yesterday, you saw the market go up on open, is because they're situating themselves for the long term. So that's kind of, did I give my top end? So where do I think it could bounce to on the high end? Yeah, wouldn't surprise me if we actually see 425 today. Okay, so I think today's range for the SPY could go something like this: 415 on the low end, 425 on the high end. So which order does it come in? Now, does it really matter? Let's say my range is 100% correct. Let's say the market spikes it open, goes to 425. What would you do? You would buy puts. You say 425 is the top. Anything under, so it goes to 425, then it ends the day. Let's say it ends the day flat at 420. Your trade is still profitable. Let's say the SPY takes a dip, goes up this morning to 422, then dips hard to 414. You were planning ahead. It actually goes to 413, then it spikes back to 417. If you got in at 414, it's back at 417. Guess what? You had strategy. You're profitable. So understand, it's going to move wildly. Nothing goes straight up. Nothing goes straight down. But let me remind you of history. Every time in the last couple of years since we started this platform, I've always reminded traders that after days like yesterday, meaning we would have a day where the market would sell off 900 points and exiting out of the market, I go, I think tomorrow's going to be green. I think tomorrow's going to be strong green, 400 points. Blah, blah, blah. And people would say, you're crazy, dude. We just dropped 900 points today. So yesterday was one of those days. Yesterday was a day where the market had its worst day in a year. In a full year, yesterday was the worst day. So psychology of trading, you got to understand where the market is this morning. If people start buying the market up, they have to have a game plan to have support to keep buying, because if they buy it up, what'll happen? The market will go up on open, and then everybody and their mother and brother will sell, and it'll spike. It'll go lower. It'll just fall off the face. So that's kind of what I'm expecting to see, and then I'm expecting it to strengthen. So my chart, if I was going to draw a chart, I've got a pen here. This is my chart from the other day. Okay, at market open, I expect a spike, then a dip, then a little recovery, a dip, and then a quick recovery right here, and then back to this. So overall, are you guys even seeing this? Oh, you are. It looks pretty good. I believe we're going to be in an upward direction, but it's not going to surprise me when all of a sudden we dip here and people are selling the shit out of the market, and people are scarce selling, hopefully to me and you. I mean, that's the whole point. That's what we're looking to do. We're looking to get in on dips. Now, if your strategy is the inverse of Matt, okay, and you're like, dude, I love you, Matt. Your ideas, the things you share are great, but you're incorrect, and the SPY is going to 390. Because there are people that say oil's going to 150. First of all, when oil was 106, I said oil was probably going to 130. We're there, you know. So oil's going to 150, they say. Some people say the SPY is going to retest 390, that tech will be sold hard. You know who thinks tech is going to be sold hard? Jim Cramer. That's why I can get on the other side. He says 4-letter stocks, you know. He also sold his oil the other day. I mean, what an idiot. Everything opposite Jim Cramer. The only thing I'm unsure about Jim Cramer is I bought Starbucks to go long on Starbucks. I believe at like $86, $87 yesterday. I wanted to buy it at 93, but remember we shorted Starbucks. I was in Starbucks puts, and the morning that I got in those puts, where did Starbucks go? $94, right? And then we took profit. It was good. But now we're at Starbucks, $86. Those options, oh my God. All right, so let's see if we have any questions real quick. Hey, man, Forrest. Hey, thanks, Forrest. That $2, I'm going to split it with Carlos. After the government takes its share, we're each going to buy a piece of gum. No, I'm just kidding. That's awesome, dude. I appreciate that. Hey, how come mining companies are okay? So yes, Here's what I wanted to warn everybody, okay? The same way you had Mullen, the EV company, MULN, and they were pumping it on Twitter and all these other social medias, and it went from 80 cents to $2, and now it's back at like maybe $1 or something, right? So it depends when you get in. They are pumping all these mineral companies. So mining companies, nickel, iron, copper, gold, anything related to mining, these companies are getting pumped. Why am I saying it? Because they're publicly traded, but they have a book value of, let's say, 234 million, which is a good substantial size for a company. But if they only have 12 million shares outstanding, and everybody knows mining companies are going through the roof, then people are buying up the shares because it's supply and demand, and then they pump them on the internet. So there are a number of companies like that. I could bring up CEI, right? The energy company in Houston, Texas. They have oil drilling, they have natural gas, but they were a privately owned company. No one has a real valuation on them. So when they were at 30 cents, people said 30 is too cheap. Then they pumped them up. Then it went back down to 40 cents. Now it just went over $1 yesterday. I think they went up. Why? Because everybody's most familiar with that company from the first pump. So yes, there are, if you could do a valuation on mining companies, great. But you want to watch or look at Newmont Mining, NEM. Let me just see what that looks like, that chart, because that'll tell you. NEM, Newmont. There we go. Look at the 1 month chart. I mean, here you can see it. There we go. They've been buying it, but they've been buying it since 63. It's now 78. So that's what, like 20% gain. Some of these mining companies that are low float, low market cap are up not 20%, are up like 200, 500. There's HUSA, right? HUSA went up yesterday, HUSA, I think from $2 to $11. Okay, I understand the demand and also supply and demand. There are only so many shares out. I'm buying the shares. It's going up. I'm not selling because it keeps going up. The point is, you don't want to get in at 11 when it goes back to 4. All right, let's get two more questions. All right, Biden's issuing executive order, crypto. Yeah, we'll see how that turns out. I mean, I'm long crypto. I will always like and love crypto. There are certain tokens or coins that are obviously more important to society than like Shiba, which is basically has zero value in my mind. Let's get one more comment and then we'll get to actively trading. All right, what about Pfizer? So yeah, I mentioned this yesterday. When I brought up Pfizer, they've been buying Pfizer. I thought I had it on my chart here. So let me just go PFE, Pfizer. I mentioned Pfizer with majority. So here's the chart on Pfizer. What you can see is all those greens. So 6 out of the last 8 days is inflow. Same with Moderna is not so strong as Pfizer. And again, I have no position in either. But the point is, what's going to happen when COVID spikes again towards the end of the year or over, we have different seasons right now. Right now it's spring, summer for us. If you're south of the equator, it's a fall, winter season right now. So understand what is going to happen when COVID spikes. People think COVID's gone. It's not going away. We will have the same situation come the end of the year, vaccinated or not, it doesn't matter. So yeah, I mean, if you're talking about a long-term entry, I'd be in Pfizer at 48. I would probably sell it like 54. I would buy back at 48. Yeah, when as high as 60. I like to do 54. That's just a number I keep imagining Pfizer at. All right, everybody, have a wonderful day of trading. If you like this, first of all, I drop knowledge. If you watch my Russian video, which I would watch, what happens if Russia invades? I mentioned wheat, corn, silver, gold, the Swiss franc. All this stuff was going to go up. Nickel went up. So now why is nickel at its max value real quick? It's being shorted by a Chinese billionaire that lost billions of dollars because nickel went from 55,000 a metric ton and doubled to over $100,000. Why? Because all the EVs that everybody's promising going to roll out in the next couple of years uses nickel as a huge component. All right, I'm going to leave you guys on that. Have a wonderful